You're nothing, boy. You're finished already. Look at me. Look at me. You know you're done. You are Ali. Ali.
Welcome back, everyone. A very busy time of the year for me, as I'm sure it is for many of you also. So I didn't prepare anything formal for today's video, but let's talk through some things anyway regarding the recent exchange between Christian Prince and Ali Dawah and Muhammad Hijab. I want to go back to the language issue first, something that I brought up right after the David Wood and Muhammad Hijab debate, and then talk about a couple of the things that were said between them and Christian Prince, and then I'll play a highlight reel for you, which will provide some supporting evidence for the title of this video. So Muhammad Hijab did with Christian Prince what he did with David Wood as well. He likes to ridicule others for their knowledge or lack of knowledge of languages. I talked about this from several different perspectives, as I said, after the David Wood and Muhammad Hijab debate. One thing I didn't touch was something in Muhammad's opening statement regarding Genesis 1:1. So we can kind of go back to that and use that as a really good example to illustrate what I'm talking about.
There are 9,000 pronouns in the Bible which relate to God's name. Let's take, for example, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. Bereshit, Bereshit, Bara, Elohim. The word Bara means He created. Whenever you find a pronoun in the Old Testament referring to Elohim, you will always find it in third person, male, singular.
So there's a little inclusio in this section of his talk. You have 9,000 pronouns on this side and then pronouns on this side. And then in the middle, as an illustration, he brings up Genesis 1:1. So let's go ahead and parse that. So we have Genesis 1:1 up here. You have Bereshit. What we have here is the inseparable preposition bet, followed by a noun. So a preposition and then a noun. And then here's bara, which is what Muhammad Hijab brought up, which is a verb, not a pronoun. So you have created. So in the beginning, you can actually translate Genesis 1:1 as an independent or dependent clause. Actually, the grammar looks more like a dependent clause, but we'll follow the convention. Say in the beginning, and then you have he created, and then you have Elohim. Now let's note something at this point. Christian Prince is made fun of by Hijab for the way Christian Prince pronounces a certain syllable. If you'll notice how Hijab says Elohim.
Elohim.
He says Elohim.
Elohim.
Okay, the Semitic word for God, El, that's a tsere vowel. It's two dots side by side, a long E vowel. It's actually pronounced A, as in they. But when you add something to the end of a word in Hebrew, Hebrew likes to keep that accent on the end. And so that changes the vocalization, changes the vowels throughout the word in the vast majority of cases. And so El becomes Elohim. You shorten what's up front so that you can throw that accent on the end. Does this really matter if you say Elohim versus Elohim? No, it doesn't. But if you're going to make fun of someone like Christian Prince for the way he pronounces something, then you need to at least be consistent and be able to pronounce these things yourself. Here we have the accusative marker, then we have the article and heavens, so a noun, of course. Then we have the conjunction vav, and again, an accusative marker, and then the article once again, followed by earth. So now that we've parsed Genesis 1:1, what did you notice missing? Pronouns, of course. There are 9,000 of them, according to Hijab, that refer to God in the singular.
There are 9,000 pronouns.
And as an illustration, he picks a verse for us that doesn't have a single pronoun.
Let's take, for example, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1.
I think he's referring to verbs. I think that's what he means to say, yet he says pronouns twice. Once in the beginning, once at the end, and then he uses a verb to illustrate his point. If you'll notice at this point in his presentation, it's fairly early on in it. He's obviously done a lot of preparation. He's obviously very confident. But then when he gets to this discussion of Hebrew and Hebrew grammatical terms, he is on very shaky ground. You can tell when someone is proficient and confident in talking about things like grammar. So when it comes down to it, it really doesn't matter how much Arabic or Hebrew you know, or whatever, Greek if you want to study the New Testament. When it comes down to exegesis and interpretation, what is critical is not that you can sight read the text, but that you know things like grammatical rules and how they function. You know parts of speech. You have to know this basic nuts and bolts stuff before you do interpretation, which is what Hijab, of course, pretends to do later on in this debate. Now, what's the point of all this? Well, the point is that this type of thing, this obnoxious display of arrogance, is what convinces Muhammad Hijab's viewers, his followers, his fans. It's what brings the applause.
I think David Wood has said some career-ending, embarrassing statements today. I mean, to be honest with you.
Now, this is very problematic. As I said, these people are convinced not by what he's saying, but how he's saying it. How do you get through to someone like this with an anti-intellectual bias? Doesn't matter what the person says. They just showed you a verb to illustrate a pronoun. It doesn't matter. You can still mock someone for not knowing the language that you yourself don't know. And as long as you do that convincingly enough, people cheer, people applaud, people say that you won. This is why I believe David Wood creates some very abrasive videos. This is why I've done it on my channel in the past. For example, Isaiah 42. This is such a stupid claim. You have to have a hard-hitting, abrasive video to get through that anti-intellectual shell to people, to reach Muslims who actually believe this stuff, because it's utter nonsense. And so the Hijab, Muhammad Hijab, anti-intellectual bias, and the crowd that follows him is part of the reason for these abrasive videos, these hard-hitting videos that try to get through, once again, that anti-intellectual shell. Now, if you notice, Hijab criticizes David Wood for the way he produces some of his Islamic material. That's one of Hijab's main contentions, main problems, personal problems against David Wood. Yet it's Muhammad Hijab and his anti-intellectual crowd that requires us to produce such content to get through to Muslims, to pierce through that anti-intellectual shell. Now, let's check out this clip from Benjamin Summer.
So when the New Testament talks about Jesus as being some sort of small-scale human manifestation of God, that's really, it sounds to Jews so utterly pagan, but what I'm suggesting is perhaps the radical idea for us Jews that in fact it's not so pagan. That in fact there was a monotheistic version of this that existed already in the Tanakh.
So for those who want to argue against Trinitarian theology from the Old Testament, they do so in ignorance. They're not aware of the history of Jewish thought on this issue, and they're also not aware of the actual text of the Old Testament, where singular verbs are applied to multiple subjects, such as in Genesis 48. This apparently is not even on Muhammad Hijab's radar. He's not a very thorough thinker about these things. Also, you do have plural verbs that apply to God, and I've just put a couple of examples up on the screen for you. So the argument against the Trinity from the Old Testament is demonstrably flawed, and that's a fact. There were a couple of exchanges also, of course, between Christian Prince and Ali Dawah and Muhammad Hijab regarding some repulsive things that were said, of course, between Christian Prince and a female Muslim caller. The way Hijab and Dawah responded to this was very sloppy, and it shows how poor thinkers they are. There are two things going on with what Christian Prince is doing. One is the form of his argument, and the other is the substance of his argument. So the form of his argument is to role play. He puts himself in the role of a Muslim man who is acting out the teachings in the Quran and in the Hadith. And by extension, of course, he puts the woman in the role of someone who is subjected to these actions that are being carried out based on what the Hadith and the Quran say. That's the form of the argument. But of course, there's the substance of the argument, and the substance of the argument is adapted right from Islam's primary sources, right from the Quran and right from Sahih narrations. Now, what Hijab and Dawah appear to be doing is arguing against the substance of what Christian Prince is saying, but that's in their sources. That's their problem. The best thing they can do is argue against the form of what Christian Prince is saying and say, no, you shouldn't role play like that. You shouldn't say those things to a woman, even if you're role playing. But then, of course, by extension, the problem is, well, what's the issue with Christian Prince role playing with a woman like this? Well, the issue is the substance of what Christian Prince is saying, which goes right back to Islam's primary sources. It's ironic that Muslims have an issue with this when the things that Christian Prince is saying come right from the Quran and right from the Hadith. Did Christian Prince say that all Muslim women have AIDS and that they're all prostitutes? Once again, let's role play. If we role play, absolutely. Let's put every Muslim man in the place of Muhammad and every Muslim woman subjected to the type of behavior that Muhammad practiced. Muhammad had intercourse with all of his wives in a single night and then took a bath. I can't think of anything that spells sexually transmitted diseases more explicitly in large, bold letters than that. What about Muslim women who Muslim men are allowed to have intercourse with as long as they pay them? Oh, but in Islam we call it marriage, and so it's okay to pay a woman for intercourse and then send her off. Now, you can see how this works, back to the point about the difference between the form and the substance of an argument. Muslim women do not all have sexually transmitted diseases. They're not all prostitutes. Absolutely not. It's a repulsive thought. But what is just as repulsive is that they would be if the things that Allah permits in the Quran and the things that Muhammad did were actually practiced by Muslim men. Muslim women would be in even much more trouble than they are now. Ali Dawah asked Christian Prince something to the effect of, would Jesus approve of what you're doing? What an interesting question. I have no idea how Jesus would respond to some idiot running around in the first century telling women to put their breasts in the mouths of adult men. I have no idea how Jesus would respond to some idiot saying that you can have sex with all of your wives in one night and then take a bath. I have no idea how Jesus would respond to some idiot saying that it's okay to have sexual intercourse with a woman and pay her money for it and then divorce her a couple of days later because it's all marriage. It's okay. I have no idea how Jesus would respond. But here's a guess. Let me just take a guess. It wouldn't be nice. My guess is that if any rational person is disgusted by the things that you heard Christian Prince say, if they are disgusted by the substance of his argument, which is traced directly back to the Islamic sources, if we're disgusted by it, then how much more a holy and righteous God? And here's another guess. It's going to be judged. Now, as we move towards this highlight reel, you might ask, why isn't Ali Dawah in the title? I have to say this, just from what I saw, Ali Dawah was not comfortable with some of the things that Muhammad Hijab was saying or the way that he was saying them. So he tried to reel Hijab in during several instances of this discussion. Here are a couple of examples.
This bastard, this boy, call him a boy. No, the bastard boy. You know that I'm gonna know it from memory, and you're gonna get humiliated, boy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna know.
Okay.
And that's why I'm gonna give him one more chance.
So you can see in several cases he tries to steer Hijab back on course as he's going off the tracks. So as we go through the highlight reel, and of course the video you just saw, sorry about the video quality. It's strange because both of them have been asking for money since the David Wood debate, and I don't know where that money's going, but it's obviously not going toward improving their production quality. What you're hearing, the audio is just ambient room noise. They have two Shure SM7B microphones sitting in front of them. They apparently can't figure out how to get the output of those microphones to the input of their live stream. So you just have this ambient, echoey room noise that you have to deal with. Nothing I can do about that. But here we go into the highlight reel. Some of this is potentially funny. But most of this is mind-numbingly stupid, so watch at your own intellectual peril. As for me, I'm out of here. Thanks so much for watching.
This bastard, this boy, call him a boy. No, the bastard If we had done that with a Muslim, with a Jewish or a Christian woman,
gosh.
what would that be?
Oh.
Let the bastard now come and justify himself. Come on, bastard, give us a call and justify yourself. You are Alik. You are Alik. You're nothing. Do you understand? You wouldn't come and speak to me like that. Yeah, you're telling them about them things, yeah, and you're lying to them. You can't even read the Arabic language. Let me give you one more chance. Put the bastard on. Let him try and read the Quran. Put him on. Hey boy, read the Quran, come on. But you're saying you're native Arab and you can't even open the book, because you know I'm going to correct you. Boy, you know I'm going to correct you, boy. And I'm going to correct you in front of thousands of people that are seeing your humiliation and demise right here and right now. You know you're going to get corrected, boy. You know that I'm going to know it from memory and you're going to get humiliated, boy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I'm going to know. This little boy, little bastard, you're an animal. What are you good at in life, bro? You've been 20 years doing this thing. You're talking about shish kebab falafel nation. Narrated, yeah? He can't speak English. How many years you been in America, brother? Huh? How many years you been there? And you can't speak English? What you been doing there? Hiding, yeah? Hiding. But all of these conversations you're having on Skype, you're hiding, boy. You're hiding. And you know you can't come out and show your face. You're hiding. You can't even speak Arabic, boy. That's not Jabi. There's no Ain there. It's with a Hamza, not Ain. Jabari, you idiot. You can't even speak Arabic. You can't even read your own mother tongue, boy. You're nothing, boy. You're finished already. Look at me. Look at me. You know you're done. Keep playing the thing. That's how you would look like. You wouldn't even dare try and read it in front of me, boy. You wouldn't try. You wouldn't try. You're sick. You're sick. Ali.
What? I didn't hear you. What?
What is
You're sick. You're sick. Ali. You are Ali. You are Ali.
A spit.
You are Ali. Ali.